When a billionaire CEO left his wife for his poor maid, the shocking truth revealed. The night was electric. The whispers of the elite floated through the grand halls of the New York City penthouse, filled with live jazz and the hum of overpriced champagne glasses clinking. But beneath the surface glamour lay a scandal waiting to erupt. Jessica Morrison, a mere maid in the eyes of many, had captured the heart of Jason Lake, the billionaire CEO who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. His wife, the glamorous and cold Elizabeth, had stood shocked, her pristine facade cracking as the news shattered like glass. Rumors danced like flickering shadows in the room. How could a woman like Jessica, with her humble origins and uncertain future, become the object of such high desire? Jessica had been cleaning the Lake family's penthouse for years, her hands often submerged in dishwater, scrubbing away the dirt of opulence. But it was during one fateful encounter, a broken vase, a sudden laugh, that everything changed. The moment their eyes met, the air thickened, and the world outside faded. Horror mixed with intrigue. How could love bloom in such uncharted territory? As the night deepened, tension grew palpable. Sips of wine turned into bitter tastes of suspicion. Friends observed closely, some smirking, others gasping, and one guest even uttered, "Can you believe it? The maid?" Each exclamation hung ominously, twisting in the air like the smoke from the cigar Jason puffed absent-mindedly. Silence followed, each person processing the audacity of the situation. A rich man leaving a seemingly perfect life for a life of uncertainty. A murmur of disbelief skimmed through the crowd, igniting a wildfire of speculation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the midst of the swirling chaos, Jessica's trembling hands reached for her glass, her heart racing loud enough to drown out the jazz. Who was the real victim here? Was it Elizabeth, heartbroken and betrayed, or Jessica, now suddenly thrust into a world where her every move would be scrutinized by those who had once looked down on her? Just as Jason opened his mouth to challenge the accusations flying around the room, the lights flickered, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat, a fanciful blackout that sent gasps echoing around the penthouse. When the lights returned, the crowd turned to see Jessica, wide-eyed, standing beside an ancient, dusty portrait that hung crookedly on the wall, a painting that hadn't been seen for years. But what did it mean? The answered questions blossomed into more. The chilling sensation of certainty twisted through the air. What lay behind Jessica's new role, and what of the secrets the Lake family had buried deep? In that moment, eyes darted toward the painting, and the real truth began to unravel. The questions lingered, and with a curious smile, Jessica whispered just loud enough for only Jason to hear, "I know something you don't." The room held its breath, and everything felt poised on the edge of revelation. What was she hiding, and how would it change everything? The room hummed with a strange energy as all eyes absorbed Jessica's defiant stance. It was as if time had paused, cutting through the jazz notes and laughter that had filled the air moments before. The weight of her words hung heavy, and for that instant, she felt invincible. Yet, the moment was fleeting. Jason's brow furrowed, a mix of concern and curiosity gracing his handsome features. "What do you mean?" he whispered, leaning closer, as if the walls had ears in their world of wealth and secrecy. Jessica's heart skipped, the gravity of his question soaring through her like electricity. She glanced back at the eerie portrait whose cracked glass glimmered in the dim lighting, its fractured reflection parallel to her own life. "There are things that don't make sense yet." The whispers flared again in the background, fueled by disbelief and anger. Elizabeth braced herself, facing the trio. "What is this nonsense?" The brightness in her voice was laced with venom, each word sharp enough to slice through any remaining tension. Laughter morphed into uneasy silence as Elizabeth directed her icy glare at Jessica, daring her to speak further. The audience looked on, their breaths collectively held, waiting for the next revelation. "I know why you didn't want this painting gone," Jessica replied, barely above a murmur but somehow reaching every corner of the room. "It isn't just a relic, it hides more than dust." Jason's eyes widened, a flicker of intrigue sparking anew. He slowly stepped toward Jessica. His stature was commanding, yet the vulnerability pooled behind his gaze beckoned her to unravel the mystery together. The room felt smaller. Jessica's mind raced, balancing the impulse to expose a truth that could obliterate their lives and the longing to protect Jason from the fallout. "When I stumbled upon it last week I just thought it was strange to see it here again. But that night, I heard voices arguing," she continued, her voice quaking under the pressure of revelation. "You were so busy with your life, Jason, you didn't hear the echoes of our past." Gasps erupted amid the guests. Elizabeth clamped her mouth shut, eyes narrowing dangerously as she pieced together Jessica's words. "You're lying," she snapped, the confidence she once wielded like armor, now fraying into desperation. "No," Jessica countered, her voice gaining strength. "I'm speaking the truth you all tried to bury." The thought of exposing a web of hidden deception sent her heart racing. Unraveling the past would mean delving into the darkest crevices of the Lake family secrets. But she had already crossed a line, hadn't she? Jason caught her eye, uncertainty flooding his expression. It was one thing to love a woman like her but another to face the chaos that meant untangling years of lies. "Everyone here treats me like I'm invisible," Jessica declared, the thrust of her emotion turning the tide. "Yet, you're all standing by and letting your lives spiral into this madness. Why?" Her words reverberated, echoing through the shattered social hierarchy before them. Just as the tension became unbearable, a loud crash resonated from the back of the room. A framed photo toppled over, spilling its contents, an affair caught in vivid color. Faces turned in shock, shifting attention from Jessica's revelations to the unexpected commotion. No one had prepared for the chaos to erupt at the worst possible moment. "What is happening?" Elizabeth's voice cut through the chaos, her authority hanging by the thinnest thread. The energy shifted, and Jessica's adrenaline surged. She felt the thrill of truth clad in raw desperation blazing in her chest. She was on the cusp of a revelation, but would it liberate her or seal her fate? In that electrified moment, the question hung in the air: what would happen when the past collided with their present? Secrets were waiting to spill. Who else would be swept away by the cyclone brewing within the Lake household? Ahead lay unknown revelations, clawing to break free. Jessica's breath caught as every eye shifted from her determined face to the chaos caused by the fallen photo. She could feel the pulsating energy radiating from the now-defunct amusement in the air, replaced wholly by shock and disbelief. Murmurs erupted like wildfire, igniting the embers of frustration and accusation among the guests. "What the hell is going on?" Jason's voice sliced through the noise, his eyes darkened with concern. Jessica stepped back, the urge to flee clawing at her insides. The room was a boiling pot, and she was just the wick waiting to explode. Yet, she stood her ground, desperation fueling her resolve. She glanced toward the path that led to the shattered image. Was this a distraction, or the first domino falling from the grand scheme nestled within the Lake family's veneer of opulence? Elizabeth lunged towards the image scattered on the floor, her breath hitching. The photo bore a smiling couple, their faces labeled with joyful devotion. But next to them were messages scrawled in whispers, shrouded in scandal, implications murmuring secrets of betrayal. Who did this? Her voice was ice, cutting through the tension. Jessica opened her mouth, feeling every gaze snapping back on her. "Maybe it's a sign," she said, vulnerability seeping into her voice, challenging the stagnant air. "Maybe all of this is meant to come out after all. The only sign is your desperate attempt to ruin us, Jessica." Elizabeth shot back, her temper flaring like a match struck amidst dry grass. Laughter had evaporated, replaced with a tight knot of frustration and fear. Panic bled into the crowd. Some backed away from Elizabeth, others gravitated toward Jason, as though seeking sanctuary. The atmosphere was a cocktail of unease and curiosity, a deadly mix. Someone in the back shouted, "Is this true? Is this what you want us to believe?" Among the faces, one stood out, a man in a tailored suit, brow furrowed, lips pressed into a thin line of skepticism. His name danced on Jessica's mind like a chimera. He was part of the extended Lake family, the cousin she'd heard whispers about, the forgotten one who always lingered in the darker corners of family events. The realization hit her, that elusive man could provide the key to breaking open the tightly shut doors of secrecy. "Listen," Jason interjected, stepping forward, almost protective. "We need to calm down. All of you." His voice was measured but edged with urgency. "If there's something happening, let us face it together." "Face it together?" Elizabeth scoffed derisively. "Like we faced your insipid obsession with this maid?" Jessica stiffened at the jab, but the bond she shared with Jason emboldened her. "Jason, we can unearth where this began. You're not innocent here, I saw it with my own eyes." "Where what began?" His confusion was palpable, and Jessica felt her own pulse race. This was it, the crossroads. Suddenly, the lights flickered, a pulse of warning, a sign from above. The chatter quieted. "What now?" someone murmured, and another voice responded, "It's just the storm." Jason caught Jessica's gaze, his intensity pouring into her. "What did you see, Jess? What the hell did you uncover?" The tension mounted as she felt the walls close in. What she had stumbled upon was not merely a secret or an affair, it was a fortress of fabrications bound to their legacy. And now it threatened to unravel in the most public of places, with lives hanging in the balance. Before she could respond, a boom of thunder cracked through the ceiling, drowning them in darkness. A collective gasp murmured in the shadows, leaving them suspended in a heavy dimness. Seconds felt like hours. What was happening? Would her truth emerge amid the chaos? Fear coursed through her veins, but determination anchored her. Outside, she could see the torrential rain pounding against the windows, a mirror of the turmoil inside. Her heart raced as the storm raged on. The fragile peace had shattered, and in the coming storm, who would find shelter? As the void enveloped them, hope flickered faintly, a promise of revelations yet to spill. What followed would determine the future of them all. And at that moment, Jessica understood, she was no longer just a victim in this tale of chaos and deceit. She was the author of its next chapter, whether they liked it or not. But as the storm howled, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching, lurking just out of sight. A heavy silence clung to the room, punctuated only by the relentless downpour outside. Jessica's heart pounded against her ribcage, the shadows creeping closer, suffocating her resolve. Dramatic flashes of lightning briefly illuminated the chaos, a tableau of confusion, anger, and fear. Jason's silhouette emerged as he sidled closer, his voice a low murmur just above the tempest. "Jessica, we need to get out of here. This is spiraling out of control." He looked around, as if trying to assess the mood of their captive audience. "No," she whispered back, eyes darting toward Elizabeth, who was kneeling beside the scattered pieces of the photo. Elizabeth's tremor of rage was palpable, her breathing coming in short, sharp gasps as she clutched at the remnants as if they were her lifeline. "Not now. What if this is our chance to expose everything?" "Expose what?" Jason's brow furrowed, an edge of desperation in his tone. "There are lives at stake." Jessica's focus shifted back to the cousin hovering at the edge of the crowd, the one whose name slipped just out of reach. She could see it now, the way he watched them, calculating, as a predator does its prey. Something flickered behind his calm facade, a glimmer of recognition that felt too profound to ignore. Turning to Jason, she shook her head, urgency filling her veins. "I think he knows something. We can't leave without confronting him." "Jessica, you're out of your mind. Jason glanced back to the crowd, his voice brimming with concern. The longer we stand here, the worse it'll get. They'll turn on you. Let them. A flame ignited within her, fueled by the fear clawing at her insides. I'm done hiding. I'm done watching. Just then, the lights flickered back to life, casting a dim glow that highlighted the room's tenseness. Jessica locked eyes with the cousin, and at that moment, it felt as though the world stilled, the storm outside holding its breath along with them. What do you want, John? Jessica called out, wresting authority into the question. The room stilled in anticipation. Is that your name? He replied, his tone smooth, unsettling. I didn't expect you to recognize me, Jessica. But I do recognize your struggle, your ambition. It's admirable. A murmur spread across the crowd, and heads turned to one another in confusion, caught between loyalty and curiosity. Is it? She threw back, steeling herself. Or is it just a way to clean up the mess your family has created? John smiled ever so slightly, a glimmer of amusement playing in the corners of his mouth. Ah, the mess, fascinating term. Wouldn't you agree that sometimes messes bring about the best stories? Jessica clenched her fists, frustration bubbling. You think this is some story? People's lives and their reputations are on the line. Every story has its victims, Jessica, he said, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. Some people become victims. Others? Well, they become the heroes of the narrative. His gaze bore into her like a needle, injecting doubt and dread. Lightning flashed again, lighting up the room and revealing shock etched across the faces of the gathered guests. Their full attention was on Jessica. They were ready to unravel, some with silent support and others with lingering resentment. Then Elizabeth rose to her feet, fury painting her face. This is ridiculous. You think you can just throw accusations and hide behind some twisted fairy tale? Maybe you have more to hide than you'd like to admit, Jessica countered, feeling the weight of all eyes on her. The truth is looming over us, and none of us can escape it. But just as she felt a surge of courage, chaos erupted. A loud crash rang from the far side of the room, causing everyone to jump. A table flipped, drinks spilled, and screaming pierced through the tension that in the midst of the upheaval, Jessica caught a glimpse of something shimmering on the floor, something that had fallen when the table overturned. A flash of metal, sharp and glinting. Her heart raced as she realized it was a key, glistening ominously in the dim light. What did you hide, Elizabeth? She demanded. Bending to pick it up, holding it like evidence of everything that lay beneath the polished surface. Put that down. Elizabeth shrieked, eyes wide as despair washed over her. The storm outside rattled against the windows, a chaotic symphony to accompany the unraveling drama within. What was this key to? Jessica's mind raced, and the uncertainty stabbed through her. Answers were in reach, but so was danger. As thunder roared along with the crowd's murmurs, one question lingered heavy in the air: what door would this key unlock, and who would be waiting on the other side? The key felt cold against Jessica's palm, a chilling piece of metal that seemed to vibrate with energy. She stood frozen, caught between the sounds of chaos swirling around her and the piercing gaze of Elizabeth. It was as if time had warped. The world outside continued its wild storm, but inside, a different tempest brewed. What's this, Elizabeth? Jessica pressed, lifting the key slightly as if it were a weapon. Sparks of fury danced in Elizabeth's eyes, but her voice trembled. You don't know what you're messing with. Jason moved closer to Jessica, his expression a blend of confusion and fear. This isn't right. We need to get everyone out of here. But the crowd hung in suspense, their attention spellbound. They sensed the shift, the fragility of alliances now laid bare. The murmurs of confusion grew louder, intermingling with rising tension. I warned you, Elizabeth continued, her voice breaking, raw with emotion. You have no idea what that key unlocks. Then tell me. Jessica demanded, stepping forward. What are you hiding? What are you so afraid of? In a flash, Elizabeth's anger morphed into a fragile vulnerability. Jessica caught a glimpse of the guilt choking her cousin, and it struck her like a bolt of lightning they were intertwined in this web of secrets. John stood at the edge of the group, watching with a smirk that made Jessica's skin crawl. This is about more than just you, Jessica. Elizabeth shot back, her face contorting. You want the truth? Fine. But be prepared for the fallout. The air crackled with anticipation as Elizabeth suddenly turned to the guests. You all think you're safe here, but this key? It could destroy everything you believe. Her voice rose, daring the crowd to react. Enough of this. Jason barked, sensing the tide turning. Everyone, we need to leave before his words could settle in the crowd's consciousness, the lights flickered, and they were plunged back into partial darkness. Screams exploded around them as shadows danced, distorting faces into ominous masks. It felt like a scene orchestrated by chaotic fate. Get back! Jessica shouted, holding the key up like a shield. But instead of retreating, the crowd surged forward, curiosity igniting their fear. They sensed something primal unfolding, the thrill of danger overshadowing all else. Suddenly, John stepped closer, a glint of amusement in his eyes. Do you really think she'll tell you the truth, Jessica? You think this key has magical properties? There was mockery in his tone, but Jessica could read the layers beneath it, fear planted in his heart. Then what are you so afraid of? Jessica challenged him, feeling a rush of adrenaline. She was about to expose something larger than herself, and she could almost taste it. Give it a name, John. Say it out loud before we all lose ourselves in this madness. John hesitated, and for a fleeting moment, doubt flickered across his face. But just as quickly, it vanished behind a wall of bravado. You're just a girl playing with fire, he retorted, but the slight tremor in his voice betrayed him. Lightning flashed again outside, illuminating the terror in the room. One look at Elizabeth told her there was a hidden truth nestled in the chaos, one the family had buried deep. And with it, the key was more than just a mechanism, it held a legacy steeped in betrayal, ambition, and danger. What if I told you this key unlocks more than a door? Elizabeth finally said, pushing through the fray. What if I told you it could unlock lives, and ruin them? A gasp rippled through the crowd. Jessica's heart raced. The stakes were rising, and the very ground they stood on felt unsteady. What lives, Elizabeth? Jessica pressed, desperate to claw through the layers of familial deceit. What are you not telling us? But the question hung like an unspoken curse, the air thickening with an unseen tension. Just as Elizabeth opened her mouth to reply, there was a sound, a low, rumbling growl from outside, drowning out the rain. Something unnatural heralded in the storm, and as the door creaked ominously, hearts held their breath. What did the storm want? The door shuddered, but it didn't burst open. Instead, it merely cracked, revealing nothing but the thick darkness beyond, like a wall of ink slowly consuming the light. Jessica felt a chill crawl down her spine as everyone around her held their breath, caught in a moment, suspended in panic. Close that door! Jason shouted, adrenaline spilling over into urgency. But before anyone could move, the growl echoed again, this time louder, more insistent. It felt primal, a warning that sent shivers racing through the onlookers. What the hell is that? Someone yelled from the back of the crowd. Fear crept into faces, and the murmurs escalated into a cacophony of horror. I should be known, Elizabeth whispered, so low Jessica barely caught it. Her eyes were wide, tinged with something akin to dread and a hint of blame. It wasn't just the storm outside that bore down on them, it was the ghosts of their own histories. Elizabeth. Jessica pressed, clutching the key tightly. You have to tell me what's going on. Now. The lights flickered once more, the tension sparking like electricity in the air. Elizabeth's resolve began to crumble, her eyes darting around the room, scanning each face, each one reflecting a facet of shared fear. It unlocks the past, she stammered. Our past. Our family's past. There are things hidden, things we buried to survive. What things? Jason exclaimed, pushing through the front of the crowd, anger lacing his words. We don't have time for riddles. We need to. Another growl ripped through the chaos, a sound that would haunt their dreams. It was hungry, desperate. And whatever was on the other side of that door was growing bolder by the moment, eager to find its way inside. The crowd surged forward, some desperate to flee, others captivated by the magnetic pull of truth. Jessica could see Elizabeth's strength wavering, and with it, all her hopes of understanding what lay at the heart of their turmoil. Open the door. Someone yelled from the back, panic erupting like wildfire. No! Elizabeth shrieked, as if her voice alone could hold the darkness at bay. You don't understand what's waiting out there. But it was too late. The door burst open with a violent crash, the wind howling like a demonic chorus. Rain lashed inside, accompanied by another growl, a terrible roar that sent everyone stumbling back, their eyes wild with terror, and then she saw it. A flicker of movement, a figure cloaked in shadows, emerging from the storm. A silhouette, hazy yet defined, stepping boldly into the chaos. Jessica's heart raced, fear and confusion twisting in her gut. Shut the door. Shut it. Jason shouted, his voice rising above the din, but nobody moved. The terror, the chaos, they all lost their grip on reason. Jessica. Elizabeth's voice cracked, urgency lacing through the panic. You need to use the key. It's the only way to control what that thing wants. What? Control what? Jessica's mind raced as she processed the revelation. What do you mean? But before Elizabeth could answer, the figure stepped fully into the light, a face twisted in a cruel smile, eyes glinting with a predatory hunger. Time froze as realization flooded Jessica's mind. Behind him, shadows loomed. The storm wasn't just weather, it was a prelude to something larger, something impossibly real, and darker than she had ever imagined. And in that moment, Jessica understood, the key didn't just open doors, it could unleash horrors from the past. As the figure moved closer, its voice echoed, chilling them all to the bone. You think you can keep me out? I've always been here. What had they truly unleashed? And at what cost? The truth stood before them, a living nightmare stitched together from their family's dark history. Jessica! Elizabeth screamed, fear gripping her heart. Don't let them in. With her pulse thunderous in her ears, Jessica faced the key. It trembled in her hand, alive with potential. What would she unlock next? The figure inched closer, its presence heavy with menace. Jessica felt her heart pounding against her ribcage, each beat echoing like an alarm bell in the electrified air. It was as if time stretched, every fleeting second slippery and fraught with tension. The crowded room swirled around her, the whispers rising in pitch, faces draining of color, and everywhere the cold breath of shadow curling into their collective consciousness. Jessica! Elizabeth's voice sliced through the terror. Use the key. You have to confront it before it takes what belongs to us. But what does that mean? Panic surged through Jessica, shaking her resolve. How can I use it? What do I even do? Elizabeth's hands trembled, her voice rising in urgency. Unlock your memories. You hold the truth. You can change everything. The growl deepened, reverberating through the walls like an angry beast demanding entry. Shadows buzzed like a swarm of wasps, the room thickening with dread. Jessica stood at the center of a dark storm, poised between fear and destiny. The figure lunged forward, its smile stretching wider, revealing rows of jagged teeth. You think you can set things right? It hissed, its voice a blend of mockery and venom. You were never meant to. I am the result of your past decisions, and now I've come to collect. Jessica's grip tightened around the key, its metallic surface cool against her palm. Somewhere, buried deep within her mind, a flicker of recognition ignited. Pieces of her childhood shuffled through her thoughts, a forgotten antique box stashed in the attic, moments concealed beneath layers of familial guilt. Elizabeth's frantic eyes flickered like candles in the dark, urging her to act. "No! Stay back!" Jason shouted, trying to shield Jessica with his body, but the creature only laughed, a sound that clawed at their sanity. "Innocents never understand. But you will, sweet Jessica. You'll understand soon enough." The dim light flickered again, casting monstrous shadows across the walls. Everything felt like it was closing in on them, each breath tightening the vice around their throats. Jessica's mind raced as memories swirled into place, whispers of dark secrets told behind closed doors, moments of family discord wrapped in silken fabric of denial. "Unlock it!" Elizabeth cried again, voice breaking, tears streaming unchecked down her cheeks. "Only you can stop this." Jessica stepped forward, heart racing, the weight of the key felt like lightning coursing through her veins. If this creature was born from their sins, then she held the power to confront it. Unlocking the past could either save them or doom them. What if she failed? What if they were too far gone? "Don't be weak," she whispered to herself, slipping back into memories she'd spent years avoiding. The intricate carvings on the key seemed to pulse with a life of their own, resonating with a truth that both terrified and exhilarated her. In a decisive move, she stepped into the dim light, facing the shadowy figure head-on. "What do you want from us?" Jessica forced the words out, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. The figure paused, its grin slackening for just a moment. The storm howled outside, a thick wind battering against the door as if trying to break free. "You know what I want. Need. Your family's blood has been traded, woven into the fabric of my vengeance. And now, it's your turn." Jessica felt a shiver of foreboding. She gulped down her fear, realizing that her journey embarked not just upon the unlocking of memories, but the revelation of truths she was not prepared for. "Here goes nothing," she thought, holding up the key with trembling hands. She was about to unlock the door to their legacy, a choice that would either liberate them all or unleash chaos beyond comprehension. In that critical moment, clarity flooded through her. She understood, they weren't just facing their past, they were fighting to forge a future, but what else lurked in those shadows? What was the price of their freedom? As she stood on the precipice of discovery, the darkness around her stirred. Teetering between existence and oblivion. The echoes of their ancestors thrummed through the air as the key glowed ominously in her grip, ready to reveal its hidden secrets. What horrors would be laid bare next? The key pulsed in Jessica's grasp, the anticipation surging through her like wildfire, igniting her purpose. She could feel the icy breath of the figure creeping closer, coaxing her deeper into the abyss of her family's dark history. The atmosphere thickened, the whispers morphing into urgent cries that reverberated in her mind, drowning out reason. "Unlock it!" Elizabeth urged again, her voice a desperate plea, each syllable tinged with a mixture of faith and fear. Against overwhelming dread, Jessica closed her eyes tightly, allowing fragments of long-buried memories to flood her senses. She tasted the bitterness of betrayal and the tears that once stained her cheeks as a child. Her family had harbored secrets, and she had been a witness, mirrors reflecting half-truths. The key wasn't just a symbol, it was a bridge to a past where innocence shattered and darkness thrived. In a breathless rush, she flicked open her eyes, tears pooling at the edges. "You're not going to take anything from us," she declared, summoning the strength of her ancestors that coursed through her veins. "For now," the figure crooned, inching closer, "but soon, my dear. So much preparation needed for your inheritance." The grin split its face wider, exposing the disarray of its jagged teeth. Shadows twisted around its body, reaching for others in the room as if hungry for dew. Jessica tightened her grip on the key, her heart thundering. What did my family do? What is this, revenge? But those are the right questions. So many secrets. So much blood. The creature's voice twisted into a rasp as if choking on the truth it profaned. It all began with your great-grandmother, selling her soul for a taste of power. It continued through generations, always taking, never giving back. Jason's breath hitched beside her, and she could feel his fear rising like smoke. Lifting the key, she faced the creature again, heart racing. This ends here. I'm not letting you destroy anyone else. Elizabeth stood steadfast, her expression determined. You have the strength, Jessica. You can break this cycle. Use the key for the truth. Closing her eyes again, Jessica exhaled slowly. She felt vibrations ripple through the key, whispering secrets, the weight of countless decisions pressing down upon her shoulders. With newfound resolve, she stepped forward, ready to unlock the horror that lay buried. One sharp twist of the key ignited the air around them, sending a shockwave that sent even the shadows reeling. The walls around them churned and peeled back, revealing a maelstrom of dark memories swirling within. Fragments of laughter intertwined with gasps of betrayal echoed, a tapestry woven through time. The figure snarled, "What have you done?" "Sift through the wreckage," Jessica shouted, her words becoming an incantation, somehow binding the creature in place. "Face your demons." Inside the storm, her family's history erupted, a coil of whispers, every secret like fireflies bursting forth, exposing grotesque truths that clawed at her heart. She honed in on a memory she barely recalled, the day her great-grandmother had made a pact with the darkness, trading family loyalty for vain dreams and hollow success. The visceral pain of regret exploded in her chest, intertwining with anger. Enough. The figure lunged again, desperation seeping through its voice. You cannot undo what's done. I can try. Jessica screamed back, channeling her grief, recognizing her strength. The room warped and twisted, realities colliding as the key glowed brighter, illuminating fractured truths. And just as the darkness threatened to consume her whole, a blinding flash erupted from the key, cascading light over everything. But when the blinding light subsided, an eerie silence settled. One question pierced the tension: had she truly unlocked their family's fate, or opened a door sealed for a reason? As she stood in the aftermath, the figure was gone but their shadows lingered. In this dim light, what would the truth reveal? What stains still clung to her bloodline, waiting to be unearthed? With unanswered questions hanging heavy in the air, Jessica could only brace herself. The real journey was just beginning. What lay ahead would test them all in ways they could never foresee. Jessica's heart raced as the eerie calm enveloped her. She scanned the room, desperate for signs of the ghastly figure. The walls, once alive with shadowy movements, now stood still, like a breath held in anticipation. Silence pressed down, thick and tactile, making her skin crawl. Did we win?" Jason whispered, his voice trembling, breaking the spell of quiet. "I don't know," Jessica replied, trying to suppress the tightness in her throat. The air felt different, wrapped in fear but also a strange flicker of hope. "But it's not over yet. The key, it must mean something more." Elizabeth stepped closer, her eyes wide. "We need to find out what other secrets it holds. They didn't just vanish." Her voice was like a thin thread, weaving through the tangible uncertainty. Jessica nodded and held the key up, its metallic surface gleaming in the dimness. She could feel its energy pulsing, almost alive. It vibrated gently, and she could swear it was leading her somewhere, guiding her toward deeper revelations. "Let's check the family archives. There must be records, old letters, something." She turned towards the staircase that spiraled into darkness. A chill swept through her as memories of countless family gatherings at that very place bubbled up, laced with laughter but also shadows of discomfort. As they ascended the stairs, the wood creaked under their feet, echoing into the hollow expanse above. Jessica felt the weight of her ancestors' presence around her, palpable and haunting. Every step carried them deeper into the unknown. Once they reached the dimly lit study, dust particles danced in the faded light filtering through the window. Jessica's eyes swept over shelves lined with old books and boxes collected over generations. She could see faint outlines of portraits hanging crookedly, faces belonging to a lineage shrouded in both pride and deceit. While Jason rifled through the boxes, Elizabeth examined a long-forgotten bookshelf, removed some volumes, and gasped. "Look at this." Jessica hurried over and saw an ornate box, intricately carved, hidden behind the books. Its surface glimmered, capturing the light and the eyes of the two friends. She felt an insatiable pull, a hunger to uncover what lay inside. Trembling, she reached for the latch, and the box sprang open with a soft click. Dust rose in a swirling cloud, carrying the stale scent of secrets too long concealed. Inside, they found yellowed papers, fragile and brittle. Jessica gently unfurled one, revealing a handwritten note from her great-grandmother, her elegant strokes a stark contrast to the grave message. "It says here the pact we made has consequences. Betrayal will always follow our promises. Trust the blood that runs cold, for it will bring light, or darkness." Jessica's voice faltered. Each word sliced through her, revealing the abyss between her family's past and her own future. Jason's eyes widened. "What does that mean? Is she saying that there's more we should know?" Elizabeth leaned in closer, a shiver running down her spine. What if the figure we confronted was impacted by this pact? What if it seeks to reclaim what was lost? Jessica's thoughts raced, her breath quickening. It's not over. My great-grandmother's decision was just the beginning. What if there are others watching? Waiting for their chance? A sudden chill swept through the room as the temperature dropped, and shadows danced once more on the walls. The feeling of being watched was suffocating. Then, a scrape from the corner of the room cut through the tension, making them freeze. Jessica turned sharply, peering into the depths of shadows, heart pounding like a drum. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Before anyone could respond, a hiss slithered through the silence, foreboding and cold. "You've opened the door, and now your fate will intertwine with ours." Jessica's blood ran cold. The true horror had just begun, and the shadows were ready to claim their due. What other dark truths awaited them, lurking in the corners of their legacy? They were no longer just witnesses, they were players in a game set long before them. With everything at stake, who would survive this time as they ventured into a world bound by ancient betrayals and unspeakable terrors? The storm outside raged on, but inside the dim study, a tense silence began to envelop the trio like a heavy shroud. The shadows crept closer, swirling with a life of their own, pressing against them like a suffocating fog. Jessica's heart raced as she strained to listen, searching for the source of the hiss, that haunting whisper that warned of horrors yet to unfurl. "Who are you?" Jessica demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. The key in her hand seemed oddly warm, vibrating as if it sensed the tension that crackled in the air. From the darkness, a figure emerged, partly obscured, but one gleam of stark white caught her eye, a smile that sent chills down her spine. "You've sparked an old flame, Jessica. Understanding what lies behind those shadows will be your greatest weapon or your doom." The words slithered through the shadows, echoing in the corners of the room. Jason stepped closer, a protective instinct igniting in him. "We're not afraid of you. Are you not?" The voice questioned, humor laced with malice. "Fear is the undercurrent of your legacies, you can't escape it. I am a mere herald, your family has sown the seeds of darkness. And now the harvest is upon you." Elizabeth straightened, her resolve breaking through her fear. "We're not like them. We can choose our path, defy the shadows." The laughter that followed echoed like an impending storm. "You think you can choose? The past has already chosen for you. Each bloodline carries its tether, each ancestral choice taints your destiny. Do you truly believe you can unravel what was woven so carefully?" Jessica felt despair claw at her, yet she held the key tightly, feeling its pulse respond to her racing heart. "Then I'll dig deeper. I'll unearth every truth buried beneath the decaying weight of lies." The figure advanced, shadows swirling with his movement. Every inch drew Jessica further into her convictions. Brave words, but words do not reshape destinies, dear Jessica. Only actions can sever these ties. Are you prepared for the truth? I've seen terror. I've faced it. I am ready. Her determination surged at that moment. The visceral pain and rage she felt for her family's betrayal ignited a fire in her belly, a desire to reclaim her story, unshackle herself from the chains of the past. Suddenly, the room shifted, the air thickening, and a whirlwind of spectral images whisked past them, shimmers of memories filled with anguish, joy, betrayal, and deceit. Jessica felt her head spin, overwhelmed by the forgotten truths spilling forth, her mother's tears, her great-grandmother's desperate choices, and the shattered legacy they'd all borne. She stood firm, a beacon of defiance amid the swirling chaos. Knowing this was her moment, Jessica thrust the key towards the figure, the sensations coursing wildly. This is the end of the cycle. I will lock away the darkness, and I will embrace a future of truth. With a flourish, she turned the key and shoved it back into the ornate box. With a surge of energy, a blinding light erupted, cascading across the room. The shadows writhed, shrieking in agony as if they were being pulled into oblivion. Jessica's heart raced as she felt the weight of the past relinquish its chokehold. The darkness began to dissolve, revealing paths that stretched into the unknown, a labyrinth of choices, futures, and possibilities. Yet the grotesque laughter echoed faintly, trailing behind as a reminder of the work yet to come. When the light dimmed and silence finally settled, Jessica opened her eyes, discovering the study had transformed. No longer cloaked in darkness, the room felt lighter, air clearer. She could breathe deeply, a sense of calm settling in. "There's still work to do," she said quietly, looking to Jason and Elizabeth, whose expressions mirrored her own, abundance of relief blended with a grappling uncertainty. The figure was gone, but an echo remained, a reminder of their shared heritage. "Yes," Jason nodded, determination etched into his features. "Together, we can reclaim what's ours." As Jessica clutched the key, now more a symbol of their power and unity, hope surged within her. "Let us uncover every truth and write our own story." With hearts beating in synchrony, they vowed to face the future together, undaunted by the shadows that had once threatened to consume them. They left the study, stepping into the brightness of new beginnings, but even as they walked away from the remnants of past shadows, Jessica could feel the lingering energy of unfinished business, a nagging reminder that the bonds of family, however dark, could serve as strength in the journey ahead. And so, they resolved to carry their story forward not as victims, but as warriors armed with the truths they would unearth, determined not to repeat the cycles of their ancestors. This is where their true journey began, a path forged in empowerment, seeking light amid the dark. Now before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss out on the next exciting chapter of these exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let others discover this gripping tale. And flood the comments section with your thoughts. What do you think will happen next? Your reactions, theories, and insights are crucial to keeping this community alive. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You're a true fan, and your love makes all the difference.